Welcome. Hello, I am Becky from Patchwork Posse, as well as my online quilt group, the International Association of Quilters. So here we are talking about the OPC, which is the Orphan Project Challenge. This challenge really is all for those quilters who have projects started, but not quite finished, feeling overwhelmed, guilty for all of those good intentions. Maybe you walk into your sewing room only to walk back out, not sure where to start, what project you're on, or what you're working on. Not even really sure if you even have the right materials or not, and what the next step is. The OPC, which is short for the Orphan Project Challenge, it really is all about organizing those projects, tracking your progress, and moving those projects forward. Releasing, of course, that guilt and overwhelmed. By the end of the challenge, you will feel good about your sewing room, not overwhelmed. You'll have a plan moving forward on what you're going to be sewing and what the next step is. You'll stay and sew instead of giving that heavy sigh of frustration and simply walking away. Not only that, but you might actually be surprised at how close you are to completing some of those projects, as well as inspired again, just like when it was new. The OPC will provide you with videos walking you through organizing your projects, so you can get an idea of what unfinished projects you actually have. You'll also have the tracking sheets, so you can keep track of your next steps, making sure you have all the right materials so you can confidently pick up that project and know exactly what to do to move it forward. Not only that, you'll be provided with, as a phone bonus, the Orphan Quilt Block ebook. This has over 30 projects that you can make using your lost and forgotten quilt blocks, getting those out of the pile and into a finished and fun project. Like any quilter, I have had moments that lasted more than a few days where I wouldn't go into my sewing room. I felt overwhelmed by all the projects that I wanted to make. There were a lot of projects that I had started and didn't ever finish for one reason or another. It really is no fun. What I found is that if I took the time to organize those projects, filled out my tracking sheets with the next steps, the overwhelm left. I found I could go into that sewing room and know exactly what project I was going to be working on and know what the next step actually was. I could still hop back and forth from project to project to keep things interesting, but I knew when things needed to be done, if it was a gift or what I needed to get it completed. I wasn't winging it any longer, and the guilt of spending all that money on something that sat in a mess on the cutting table was gone. I was again inspired and excited to get sewing again. In this video, I'll walk you through the OPC and what is included when you join the challenge. Day one really is all about prepping your sewing area, organizing some hot dump spots. I have a few of these. They are typically my sewing table, my cutting mat, and my pressing or ironing area. This is where I tend to have piles of good intentions. This is not cleaning your whole sewing room or putting it all into the hallway to organize. This is about removing the overwhelm from those small areas that you use the most of so you can get back to sewing. Day two is where we take those piles that we'd explored and discovered on day one. We organize them. We talk about using dates for organizing, maybe sizes or other ways that we can get those projects from getting lost again. On day three, we will be exploring those tracking sheets that are included, as well as the workbook if you have picked that up. Now that you have your projects organized, it's really time to take a look at them. Stop ignoring them. So remove them from their bag, their container, making sure that you have all the materials you need, and write down what the next steps are. This really is kind of a lot of fun, and a lot of times we end up surprising ourselves to find that there is not much needed to finish that quilt top. These tracking sheets are what you'll use until the quilt top or the project is complete. It will help you keep motivated and you can actually see your progress. Day 4 is all about using those orphan quilt blocks. Those blocks that weren't the right size, they're not the right color or mix of fabric. All quilters have a pile or two. I actually personally had a full drawer full of quilt blocks. And that was it. It was just quilt blocks, just random quilt blocks. So with the OPC, you will get a copy of the Orphan Quilt Block ebook, where you will find over 30 projects that you can use quickly using up those quilt blocks in fun and pretty quick projects. I know the challenge is really focused on our orphan projects, but those blocks are kind of a problem too. So having the ebook, which is included in the challenge as a reference, will help you quickly pick through your blocks, choosing a few and making something new and fun. They're a great way to mix up what you're working on as well. Day 5, we'll talk about how to keep this momentum going and keep excited and moving these projects closer to the finish line. You'll also have a few days over the weekend to sew as much or as little as you'd like. Some challengers really use this time to do some more digging through piles, putting tracking sheets together for more projects, making kind of quilt kits using those tracking sheets. Some knew exactly what they needed to sew, so they just sewed and did that. So we'll check in during this time, and I suggest you really use your accountability buddy to help you whenever you feel overwhelmed or discouraged. It's never fun to work on our projects alone, so pulling someone in as a soundboard, a helper, or whatever you need, inspiring you to keep going and moving forward. I polled hundreds of quilters about how many projects they had unfinished sitting in their sewing room. I was quite surprised. Over 250 quilters said they had under 10 unfinished projects, which actually I think is kind of low. I would have thought it would be more. 140 quilters said that they had 10 to 30 projects that were unfinished. That's a lot of projects. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of guilt sitting on our shelves or wherever we pile our guilt at. It also shows that you are not alone. As quilters, we are quickly enthralled with new fabric, beautiful patterns, and of course our good intentions and great ideas of gifts when joining Block of the Months and quilt-alongs and picking up that new kit that just hit the quilt shop store. Maybe you're looking around your sewing room and thinking you have too many piles. This is going to take forever. Well, we aren't tackling them all. You will learn how to dig into the smaller piles and get better and quicker at using those tracking sheets and organizing. Maybe your sewing room is in the dining room like me, and there isn't enough space. That's how we're rolling right now with the big move that we had during the summer. Everybody's sewing space looks different, from the dining room, a corner in the room, to a dedicated quilt room. If you're lucky, you don't need a lot of space to work through those project piles. What you have is perfect for the challenge. This is only 10 days. There's no way I have enough time to dig into all my projects that I have. Okay, this is not starting from scratch. This is not about that. No need to save the weekend or whatever to dump your sewing room into the hallway. We're not doing that. You can quickly make progress with your piles and projects, setting the timer for about 15 minutes per day. The OPC will support you as well as your accountability buddy during the challenge, helping you tackle those piles, organize those projects, and track your progress. Quick reminder, if you're an IQ member, that is my online quilt group that I will tell you about later on during the challenge. You will find all the files for this challenge inside under our community activities. You'll want to go check that out. Also note that the challenge activity will be taking place inside a private Facebook group and not inside our private community forum area. So let's get started. You're going to want to download the prep pages, the tracking sheets, as well as the ebook. We'll be starting the challenge soon, so watch your email for those reminders to join me on a Facebook Live, as well as our daily emails with our kind of to-do lists or topic for the day. I seriously cannot wait. I'm so excited to have you join us and hope to see you soon.